Good afternoon, everybody. Noah, that I said that I wasn't going to do another blood moon, and this is not another blood moon, even though that is today. I wanted to take a couple of minutes and show a couple of things that I discovered along the way, so that everybody would basically know what I know. So first of all, in previous missions, I did mention that I was going to get a cement mixer and a chem bench. I did get lucky and got the chem bench after the tier 2 mission completion. That was one of the loot options from the trader. So kind of got lucky there. And I did buy myself one cement mixer because it was available at the time and did build another one once I was able to. So technically, I just got the ability to create the chem bench, but actually have had it for a while now, which is kind of handy because I did finally manage to get enough books to build a motorcycle. So I built the motorcycle. It's down here. And of course, if you're going to have a motorcycle, you got to have fuel. So there we are. Got the chem bench so that I could generate the fuel that I need for the motorcycle, even though I've been picking up fuel along the way. It's enough to get you by in the beginning, but sooner than later you're going to need to start making your own fuel. I suppose you probably could go out, raid a whole bunch, and tear down a whole bunch of cars and do it that way. But it's a whole lot. It's much more work, labor intensive to do it that way. So I chose to do it by making the chem bench. Also, I completed the concrete upgrades for the Horde base. As you can see, I'm working my way around. I did leave the workshop as cobblestone, which I probably will leave it as cobblestone, though I will probably make the first 3 rows of blocks as concrete, just so that it's a little more resistant to the zombies doing damage to it. I also upgraded most of my tools to tier 6 steel tools, and of course here comes company. And also did create the desert vulture at tier 6 and a machete at tier 6. So as far as melee and ranged weapons, I'm pretty much set to go. And today is day 52. I have had these for a few days of in-game time, so it is entirely possible to do the upgrades long before you get to day 40. And if I was in a big hurry, I could have actually done them earlier than that. And the reason why I say that is because I found a perk under the intellect tree, under intellect mastery, called Bookworm. And what that does is it gives you a 25 chance to find a book, magazine, or schematic in any loot. That excludes uh, there are a couple of things that excludes. I'll be honest, right off the top of my head, I don't remember what they are. I'd have to look them up. Um, but it's mostly anything you would find normal loot in. You have a 25% chance of finding books, and I think the percentage chance is higher than that because I have gotten quite a few. Along with that, in the intellect tree under intellect mastery is photographic memory, which gives you a 50% chance to gain 2 skill points when you're reading a magazine. I haven't picked that one up yet. I don't think I'll need it, but if you're the kind of person that you want to get the books out of the way as quickly as possible, and I can totally understand why that would be the case, you can absolutely do that, and that will definitely shorten the amount of time it takes to get to the point where you're self sufficient. Um, I'm now at the point where I'm able to make my own food. I have 2 dew collectors for water, and of course, um, never drink water just straight. And here's the reason why. If I go over to the drink box and open it up, you'll see that water, just straight water, gives you 20 water, 15 stamina regen, and nothing else. If you were to go out and get a common item like goldenrod or chrysanthemum and make either goldenrod tea or red tea gives you efficient digestion, which basically means it's 15% reduction in how fast you consume food and drink, and it also gives you a bit more water. And the chrysanthemum tea, which is, or I'm sorry, the goldenrod tea, which is more, arguably more important, it cures dysentery. So you shouldn't get dysentery, but if you screw up, it's always good to have a small supply of those just so that you can be sure that you can do something about that, because dysentery will wipe out whatever water you have really fast. Most of the rest of the stuff that I have, the yucca juice and the coffee, I've gotten in drops, and I am currently using the mineral water. Some people say that this is the lesser option. I disagree personally, because it gives you a ridiculous amount of water, gives you stamina regen, dysentery cure, which is the same as the goldenrod tea, and efficient digestion, which is the same as the red tea. So essentially, you're drinking the red tea, the goldenrod tea, and still getting 10 more water than you would if you just drank the two of them together. And they take twice as much water. It is a little more difficult to make because you have to have the chrysanthemums, or the goldenrods and the chrysanthemums, as well as coal. But honestly, by the time you get to the point where you're making those regularly, because you do have to get a book that will allow you to make them, um, getting a supply of either of those should not be any kind of issue. The area that I'm in doesn't have that many, but I have found enough to definitely make it a useful, viable option. Now, the thing I really wanted to talk about is the biomes. Now, if you went through the last video that I made, I went into the burnt forest and got what basically smoke inhalation. You get about 2.5 minutes of coughing and wheezing, and then you start to take damage. And you will take damage until you get burnt smoothie. The burnt smoothies are good for 5 minutes. They increase your run speed and they do give you food, water, and health, which is fine. But what they do is they counteract the environmental effects of the burnt forest. There is another one for each of the other biomes. Burnt smoothie is for the burnt forest. Frostbite smoothie is for the snow biome. Oasis smoothie is for the desert. And atomic smoothie is for the wasteland. So you can use those when you're in the biomes to counteract the effect of being in the biome. But here's the key. If you go into your challenges and you go to the biomes tab, when you are in the biome, there are certain requirements. You have to be in the burnt forest for 15 minutes. You have to loot 5 containers. You kill 5 other specialized zombies, which are the plague spitters. Oh no, I'm sorry. That's the desert that I'm thinking of. There are burnt zombies in the burnt forest. You know, the zombies that look like they're burn victims. You harvest nitrate powder. You craft a burnt smoothie, and then you harvest mushrooms. Now you're going to need to harvest mushrooms, and you have to harvest mushrooms in the biome. So just harvesting mushrooms normally does not do it. But once you finish that, and wear armor, any non-primitive armor when you're in the burnt forest. Then after 15 minutes, you get an achievement. You can go to the trader and get a token, and the token, once you get it, will make it so that you're no longer affected by the detrimental effects in each biome. You can get that for the burnt forest. You can get it for the snow biome. You can get it for the desert, and you can get it for the irradiated zone, which is the wasteland. Um, and then basically, once you finish those achievements, you won't need the smoothies anymore. So you can use them as a food source because they do give you 10 food and 10 water, though that is a relatively small amount. You could literally use miso soup and get the same thing. The 10% run speed bonus is kind of nice, though honestly, I haven't really found it to be that big a deal. Um, but the nice thing about them, in case you hadn't already noticed, when I click on it, they sell for 200 dukes each. So if you have the components and you're hard up for cash, you can actually make those, sell them to the trader, and make a tidy little profit. I haven't done that because I've had several other things because of the books that I've had. So I haven't had a need to do that, but that is an option. It's always good to have several different options for the same thing. So that's what I wanted to tell you guys about, the things that I've discovered so far and the progress that I've made. You can see that the horde base is now all concrete. I will eventually upgrade it to steel. I did get myself a crucible so I can start making steel in the forge. And of course, I have the garden, which eventually, once I get enough components, I'll have this all the way around. I'll fill in this last part, and we'll have a nice little garden here so that I can grow plants and basically will be self-sufficient. The only downside is sometimes it can be hard to get seeds, but if you put your points into living off the land as well as get a farming outfit, that definitely makes a huge difference. You basically get 3 of each crop whenever you harvest, and that helps a lot. So that's where we're at currently, and also the farming outfit. Let me find it here. You remember where I put it? I have a couple of pieces, but I don't have the complete outfit. There we go. Looks like I only have the chest right now. Does give you a crop harvest bonus too. And of course, it goes up 10% for each tier. So if this was tier 6, it would be 60%. So that does make a pretty huge difference too, if you can max it out. Currently, I'm still working on the armor books. And if I go over here to armor, you can see it's 36 out of 100. So right now I can do tier 3 armor. Eventually, I can do light armor. Uh, well, actually, I can do all 3. I will eventually get this up to 6, and once I get it to 6, then I'll go ahead and make my own armor instead of the patchwork that I'm using currently. I've been basically using what was the most useful for me at the moment, and whatever tier I can find. So that's currently where we're at. I just wanted to take a couple of minutes and give you guys a heads up of what I've discovered so far. I will be doing the Blood Moon tonight, but I won't be recording it because I don't want it to get boring for you. I will probably record night, the 10th Blood Moon, which is day 70, just so that you guys can get an idea of how far things have progressed. And of course, I'll give you an update at that time once I've gone a little bit farther in the game. So that's it for today. Please like if you can and subscribe. It would be greatly appreciated. And you all have a good day.